Have you ever played a game that was fun for a while, but after a few hours felt like it was trying to do too many different things, but didn't do any of them well? That's how I felt after playing Craftopia. Craftopia was recently added to Xbox Game Pass, but I have been interested in it for quite a while longer. It was originally released into early access on Steam in September 2020 and had been on my wish list for months prior. I was apprehensive about buying it at launch because it looked overly ambitious. Fortunately, I waited as a friend told me to hold off on playing it. He said to wait for a few updates, then give it a try, and by then it was announced it would be coming to Game Pass. Craftopia is described as a multiplayer survival action game that includes hunting, farming, hack and slash combat, building, and automation. It also has crafting, resource gathering, dungeons, boss fights, skill trees, magic, and technological advancements. If that sounds like a lot of stuff, it's because it is. After playing for only a few minutes, you'll likely be overwhelmed. I know I was, and even after 10 hours or so, I still felt like I was in the dark. In this video, I'm going to let you know what to expect from Craftopia so you can decide whether it's worth your time. With it being on Game Pass for both console and PC, you can always try it out if you have a Game Pass subscription. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos. Let's get started. Like I said, there's a lot going on in Craftopia. If I were to describe it, I'd say it's The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, mixed with Satisfactory, mixed with Pokemon, mixed with Minecraft. It pulls parts from those games and many others and mashes them together, and it works, kind of. With so much going on, I think the best approach is to briefly look at the major features and talk about the positives and negatives of each. So the first thing I want to look at is graphics and performance. I am playing the game on a PC. I have a Ryzen 7 3700X with a GPU that is a 2060 Super. I have it set to 144 FPS cap, and as you can see, it runs pretty well. I can get into combat for a second and just hit some stuff. From playing it, I didn't notice any really performance issues other than occasionally coming over to something like these hills. Occasionally you'll clip through rocks, or it'll have awkward transitions like that where you're just getting stuck on things. And then sometimes the enemies or the animals that you'll see will get stuck in things. For example, there might be like a bear or something that's trying to get you and it'll just get stuck on a wall like this and do something like that. As you can see, it's looking kind of weird because it's basically trying to climb up the wall. But overall, the graphics and performance in the game were pretty nice. It does have simple graphics, which I don't have a problem with. And I don't have any issues or anything bad to say other than there's a couple goofy little hitches like where you get stuck on things that'll probably be worked out in the future. Next up, let's look at resource gathering. So like I said, there's a ton of resources in the game, and you get resources. You can get them by breaking bushes. So right here we have a bush. Just hit the bush right there, get some stuff. You can cut down trees. You can mine rocks. You can mine ores. Killing enemies or animals or enemies, they will drop resources as well. So you get basically, there's a lot of resources. There's also plants you can pick that are scattered around. Each biome had different plants. Like on this one over here, I believe there are red peppers on the ground. There's also fishing and hunting. So I guess they consider killing these animals right here to be hunting. So as you can see right here, these I believe are red pepper plants or red herbs. You can pick those. So there's plants around there. There's also fishing out here, so you'll see, let's see if there's any spots over here. The fishing is really simple. You basically just cast your rod out and catch them. So there's fish right there. You can cast your rod out and catch different kinds of fish, which you can cook. And then there's also monster combat. So the monster's right here on the first island. This is a little guy called a mono. And as you can see, if he's hitting me, he's only doing 1 damage. Now I am level 22 at this point, but even when I was level 1 with no armor, they did no damage. So those guys are pretty basic. The animals here, like the cows and chickens, the chickens just run away from you. The cows, if you attack them, let's see if one of them runs into me. So that cow ran into me and did 1 damage. Again, not really much. There's more dangerous animals like bears, and then there's also more dangerous monsters. So when you travel to different islands, the different islands will have different monsters. Some of the islands I went to, I think they had like orcs or something like that, where they had armor, they had weapons, and even most of them were only doing 1 damage to me. The only ones that actually did a fair amount of damage were the shamans, who shot fire. And I'll show you real quick. I'll just walk through my campfire real quick. Or stand in my campfire. So as you can see, it's doing 12 damage over time, so I'm quickly going to die if I don't go into the water there. So that does more damage than basically most of the enemies do in the game. And even like the first boss is extremely easy to kill. You can basically just cheese him. You hit him a couple times, hide behind a pillar. No damage. In the 10 hours or so that I played it, I only died 1 time, and that was while fighting the second boss because I honestly was not paying attention. I was listening to a YouTube video while I was playing it, didn't realize it was doing damage to me, and I went into it with basic armor. I think I had the armor that I didn't even have the armor I had on. I had like almost no armor and was not paying any attention, didn't give myself any buffs, and didn't have really a good weapon. But I could easily go back in and just probably destroy that boss right now. Next up, let's look at the crafting and cooking. So you're going to start out with a basic thing like the workbench here. And this is all the stuff I had opened after 10 hours. And as you can see, like I mentioned, I just threw everything here. I don't have to protect it because nothing's coming over attack it. So the first thing you get is this workbench. And without getting into all this, I unlocked a lot of this stuff over time. But when you first start out, there's tons of stuff. Look at all the crafting recipes that I have already. And I haven't even gotten through all the advancements yet. So there's more stuff to come. So that's just the workbench. You also have stuff like the forge where you can put in different materials that you collect. So we have the different ores. We have copper, we have iron, all the way up through gold. Then we have cooking pots where you can make food. Look at all these dishes. Again, I have not unlocked all the cooking dishes yet. There's tons of different dishes. You get tons of different food items, which then can be combined into different things. Each one of these gives different buffs. Like I said, to be honest, I didn't really use most of those. I kind of only been eating like these sausages. You have the marketplace over here where you can sell stuff. I currently have 217,000 gold. I don't know. I think the advancements might make me use that, but I really don't think I'm ever going to use all that. You can end up just finding weapons and stuff and resources and just selling them and really never running out of them. Over here we have, this is the aging facility. This is another crafting thing where you can put stuff in and make it. So you need this to make certain different things. And then real quick, let's look at the workbench one more time. We have this is a big cooking pot over here. Actually, there's other stuff everywhere. The refinery. We have the hatter, a washing machine, the loom, a blacksmith. So the blacksmith's where you make your weapons. There's a ton of weapons in the game. I don't really have much issue with this. I will say that the only thing so far is there's not a lot of armor for some reason. I don't know if that's intentional. There are weapons for basically every type of ore that you can get. But for some reason, there's not a lot of armor. Maybe you unlock it later on. But if you go over here to the workbench, you're going to see down here all these different things that you can make. I haven't even made some of these. There's an automatic assembly machine, automatic furnace, auto furniture assembler. So there's basically all these automation things that you can craft and then build automated systems. And I will show you the little bit of automation that I've done so far. So there's just a ton of different stuff you can build in this game, along with the cooking. And I didn't even mention we have the potion stand here, so you can make different potions. Then you have the fillet machine over here. That's for making fish. We have the machine factory, which is where you can make your vehicles, which, in my opinion, I don't understand why there's vehicles in the game. If you look at this map's fairly small. Most of the other maps are about this size, and you can traverse them on foot. You can also glide. So real quick, let's run up here, and I'll just show you the glider. The glider looks really similar to Breath of the Wild. It almost looks like they basically took it from there. So we'll just jump up here. We'll double jump, and we'll glide down here. So you can glide all over the map. If you just get to a high point, you can pretty much glide everywhere. So I don't understand why there's vehicles. Maybe some of the really later maps have huge maps, or maybe some of the later islands have huge maps, but I just don't see the need for vehicles. I think they were just like an afterthought and they threw them in there. Next up, let's look at the building and farming. So aside from these things, there's a lot of building pieces. We'll look at those in a minute. Here's my farm right here. So initially when you get this, you can build the wheat farm. And what you do is you just plant the wheat, then you have to run over and get buckets of water and fill them up. You can either fill them up from the ocean over there, or you can fill them up at the well that is over here. Then you have to water them. Pretty quickly, you unlock the sprinkler. So this sprinkler waters all these crops. And then what I do right now is, because I didn't fully automate it, is I just run around, I punch them or hit them with a weapon and gather all of them. And then I don't have to do anything. It just auto plants and auto waters them, and it does it again. You can set it up so that you can auto harvest these crops. I believe that you can also have them automatically collected and put into the different machines that you want. So for example, if I have wheat, what you need to do with the wheat is you can either turn it into bread. First, you have to turn it into wheat flour. So you would craft it in the wheat flour. So we'll hit max. It's going to craft it in the wheat flour. So you can either turn that into bread or other cooking recipes, or you can come over here to the aging facility and you can actually make it into bioethanol, which is needed to make a lot of the advanced stuff that you need to progress. And I believe, I don't know for sure, but I believe you can actually just fully automate that and just have it plant, get watered, pick, and then put it in these different things. Here we have the generator. This is where you get batteries. Batteries and bioethanol are the things you need to unlock some of the more advanced stuff. In order to get this, you need to, let's see if I have any in my inventory. I do have a monster prism. So this monster prism is what you use to capture animals. So basically you just get them to low health, capture them. Then you can throw it through here. They're running this little hamster wheel and generate batteries. And then the building options we have, I think most of the building pieces are over here on the furniture workbench. So there is a ton of decorative building materials, roof building materials. Look at all this stuff. There is so much stuff here. You can build like fancy houses in this game, but again, they really don't serve any purpose that I know of. If you've played the game before and you know there's a reason to build these things other than just having them, let me know down in the comments. But as far as I know, I think most of this stuff is basically just decorative, so you can build like a really fancy house. And as you can see, the only building pieces that I actually used were these slanted pieces. I use them to get up to the floating island. So you go up there and what you do is you turn in the one of the rewards you get from completing the dungeons or beating the bosses, give it to the guy that's up there, and then he lets you unlock different level ups. So basically you can increase your max health, max stamina, or your max mana. So mana's obviously your stamina is, my stamina is the bar right there that's on the right. The health obviously is the hearts, and then the mana is for you to cast magic. And it took a while to unlock those. There's 30 level ups for that. I don't even know if you can unlock all of them currently. I think the max level right now is 50. I'm level 22 and I got that in under 10 hours, I believe. So the max level is not really high. There's also, like I said, you can capture the animals. You can also breed the animals. So you can capture them or tame them and then breed them and then automate that full. There's also the advancements. So over here is going to be the advancement pillar. This is the altar of civilization. This almost looks like it's taken out of like a civilization game or something like that. So what you do is you can progress through the different ages. As you can see, in under 10 hours, I can get this one right here. So this is the industrial age. This is the next one. I'm currently on Renaissance. When I unlock this, which I can do right now, you just need different resources. So a lot of them take batteries and bioethanol, which you can get pretty early on. And then this only takes 20,000 gold. I already have 217,000. And then titanium currently, I believe, is the second rarest ore in the game. But look at all the stuff I'm going to unlock. I unlock all these other things right here. Now, I do get good armor. There's better armor here, it looks like. So I could actually probably make better armor. Once I have this, I don't feel like I probably would be able to destroy most of the enemies I would face. Is that also a buggy? So there's a car. So let's just do this real quick to show you. And then I'll say, bam, Age of Evolution. We've unlocked the Industrial Era. And what is next after this? So next after this is the Innovation Age of Fire. So at this point, there's 2 more still to come. There is a big update coming, I think, a week or so after I'm recording this. I'm not sure what it's actually adding because I didn't look into it. But right now, there's only 2 more to come. So the game is mostly finished. And in under 10 hours, I unlocked just about everything. We can also look at the skills real quick. So you do have these missions over here that you can complete. And as you can see, I did most of these in under 10 hours. A lot of them you just get by just playing the game passively. It'll be cutting down. The ones I haven't finished are these, like cutting down a lot of trees. So the first one's like cut down 100 trees, then it's 10 trees, then 100, then 200. So these are just basically things that are going to take time. There are things you can do to, you can build a thing that automatically cuts down trees. I don't know if that counts towards it, but for the tree, honestly, the fastest way to do it is just basically just cut down bushes. Because if you hit bushes, they count as trees. So if you can just run around maps and hit bushes, very quick, uses very low durability on your weapons. Mining, you can also make excavators, which will automatically mine for you, so you can fully automate that. That almost looks like it was taken straight out of Satisfactory. I didn't set up a system for it, but I believe you can set up the excavator, have the stuff fall into a conveyor belt, and then have the conveyor belts have it dump into things so you can just have it automatically be processed. I believe that's what it's for. And then as you can see, I only have a couple more that I haven't unlocked. A couple of these are crazy, like make 5,000 gold selling water. Water takes forever to make. A cup of water. This is almost like a thing that will be very endgame. And then use 1,000,000 gold at one time. I think that's what. So that's something that'd be much, much later. And these other things, you just basically need to increase your skills. So over here we have the skills. You have basic skills, which are different things. Passive mana recovery. What is this? Max invulnerable when you're crouched down. Double jump, stuff like that. I didn't unlock all of these yet. Some of them aren't even finished, as you can see. We also have combat. So these, I think, would be something that would take a long time to unlock because you're gonna have to probably get the max level. I'm not even sure if getting the max level, if you can unlock all these. You probably can't, because you usually only get one. I think you get 1 skill point per level. I don't think there's any way you can unlock all these. We have magic, we have living, and we have this trick thing. So, as I said, I don't think you can unlock all these. Tamer is on here as well, I guess. So there's just all these different things that you can unlock, and they're honestly like not even necessary. You can basically just go through the game and just unlock the stuff as it comes along. and pretty much just kill everything because you're not going to take a ton of damage. So the other things to talk about would be each map is going to have a dungeon. One of these is a dungeon, one of these is a trial. The first couple trials were basically just running straight through and trying to get out of a door. The dungeons had, the first two had, I think it was two, you run through two rooms where you have to kill a couple enemies, and then you just fight the boss. The first boss, I went in with almost like the basic weapons and very little armor, and I just hid behind a pillar and just kept attacking him and ended up killing him. The other thing you have is you have, every island will have this altar of transportation. So you start off on this beginning island. This is where you start, and then you can unlock these different islands with, usually you need gold, and then you're going to need different resources. So the only reason I unlocked one over here was because that was one of the missions that I had to do, was unlock this. And I can't currently do this island because you need strong fire resistance, and it's also the enemies are way above my level. But I did venture into the first three here, so these were all pretty fairly straightforward. I think I also went to one of these too. But these islands right here, the enemies on them, in fact, I think the one of these didn't even have enemies. I think it might have been the fire and sand. I didn't see hardly any enemies there. I basically just walked around. The only thing that had to be worried about was if you got too high, you ended up you needed heat resistance, which I didn't currently have. So other than that, there's really almost no reason to do these things. I mean, I guess at some point you're going to unlock all these. Look at how many there are. I guess there's 10 in each direction, because this would be 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 11 in each direction. So there's a ton of islands to unlock. But in the end, I don't know if there's going to be a final boss or what, because I couldn't really find anything about that. And actually, while we're talking, let's just go to show you what a different island will look like. So we'll just travel over here. You can travel back and forth. You can build on the different islands. So I think ultimately what you want to do is probably set up camps on each of the different islands, because they do end up getting progressively different resources. So we spawned in here, and for example, like as you can see, there's no, well, these guys are passive, so these are different. Each one of the islands did have one or two new enemies or animals on it that you could hunt, usually stronger. Over here, I think that might be gold or sulfur. So the starting island only has up to, I think it has up to silver. There might have been a little bit of titanium. This might be gold. And basically all you do is mine it. And I do not have, I think I need to make I don't know, I must need to make a titanium pickaxe or something. But this is how you mine. You basically just hit it a couple of times. Stuff comes out. As you can see, this says that it's dried ore. So because it's hot here, it's dried. This will be sand, I believe. This is one of the rocks you can put an excavator on. So you basically just plop the excavator down here, and it just infinitely mines the resources and gives them to you. So I did have a couple excavators set up here. And then if you get too high on this biome, it will end up you'll end up taking heat. You'll need heat resistance. Otherwise, you'll just start taking damage over time. So as you can see, there is a lot going on in Craftopia, and that's the biggest issue. The developers have this grand idea of a game that offers so many different things, but ultimately falls short on delivering on any of them. The resource gathering feels balanced, but there are way too many variations of many resources. If an animal drops a fang, it should just be a fang, not a bear fang, boar fang, or wolf fang. The same goes for ores. Iron should be iron regardless of where you mine it. Having iron, ancient iron, dried iron, etc. creates needless complication. There are also too many crafting recipes. There are dozens of different foods, way too many crafting stations, and then we also have vehicles and capturing animals and monsters, which both feel out of place. Craftopia is yet another survival game that has tons of building options, but in the end you never have to use most of them. As I've said in other videos, if you want to include a building system in any game, it must serve a purpose other than just looking nice. In Craftopia, you can just set up your crafting stations and farms on the beach on the starting island. You never get attacked, and the only time I used the building pieces was to reach the floating islands or to cheese the trials. I do like automation in games, but again it feels out of place in Craftopia. If I want to automate everything, I'll play Satisfactory or Factorio. The advancements are okay as well, but each comes with so many new things, most of which you never end up using. The skill tree is also okay, but the impact of many of the skills is barely noticeable. Last but certainly not least, the combat is just bland. You can basically just face tank most enemies while holding attack. The most dangerous obstacle for the first 10 hours or so was my own campfire. Walking through it accidentally did a fair amount of damage per second, while most enemies did only 1 damage. In the end, Craftopia underdelivered in just about every aspect. It felt needlessly complicated to give the impression that it has a deep gameplay system, and looking back, the most appropriate comparison I can make is it felt like playing a mobile game. I haven't played a mobile game in many years, but Craftopia left me feeling like it did back then. Early on, you will constantly be completing quests, unlocking crafting recipes, and leveling up. As soon as you complete a quest, another appears on your list. I didn't want to stop playing because of the constant dopamine hits from the small progression that occurred every few minutes. But what was I actually working towards? The combat was so shallow, the bosses were too easy, the trials could be cheesed. Maybe later on there was more variation, but I didn't want to invest more time to find out. Craftopia felt like a game with a lot of grindy systems that are there to waste your time rather than to challenge you. Despite all that, in less than 10 hours, I completed most of the quests and unlocked most of the advancements, all without exploring beyond the islands directly next to the starting island. If you like time wasting games that offer a lot of stuff to do but are pretty casual, Craftopia might be worth playing. If you have GamePass, you can try it out for a few hours to see if it's a game you'd like to play, but I don't see myself spending any more time on it. In the end, I can't recommend Craftopia, especially if you don't have GamePass. It's not worth $25, and even with future updates planned, I don't believe it will be worth your time. If you found this video helpful, be sure to click the like button. If you want to support the channel even more, click the join button below to become a channel member, or become a patron via the link in the description. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.